The Forgotten Guardian. The Galatian Empire sprawled across 17 star systems, a civilization of crystalline beings who believed themselves to be the pinnacle of evolution. Their bodies shimmered with internal light, their minds linked through quantum networks, and their technology allowed them to reshape worlds to suit their needs. They had encountered other species in their expansion. Primitive organisms barely worth diplomatic recognition, but none had challenged their supremacy. Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of the Imperial Surveyor Luminous Clarity, his crystalline form pulsing with deep blue light that signified his rank and authority. Before him, displayed on the massive viewport, hung a structure unlike anything the Galatians had encountered in their centuries of expansion. "Magnificent, isn't it?" he said, his voice reverberating with harmonic tones. A relic from a forgotten era. The structure was a space station, or what remained of one. A massive ring nearly 30 kilometers in diameter, connected to a central hub by spokes that looked like they had once been transport conduits. Parts of it were clearly damaged, sections exposed to the vacuum of space, but remarkably, much of it remained intact despite obvious signs of extreme age. "Our initial scans suggest it's been here for at least 10,000 years, said Science Officer Nera, her crystalline form glowing with the soft green light of the knowledge cast. "The material composition doesn't match anything in our database." Vex turned his faceted head toward her. "And you're certain it's not natural?" "Absolutely," Nera replied. "This is artificial construction, evidence of an advanced civilization that existed in this region long before our ancestors achieved spaceflight. The Emperor will be pleased," Vex said. "Prepare an expedition team. I will lead it personally." Naira's glow dimmed slightly, a Galatian expression of concern. "Commander, with respect, we should proceed with caution. We know nothing about who built this station, or what its purpose might be." Vex's blue light pulsed with impatience. "Your caution is noted, Science Officer, but the glory of discovery awaits. This station could contain technologies that would advance our civilization by centuries. The Emperor expects us to seize such opportunities." He turned back to the viewport, already imagining how this discovery would elevate his status in the Imperial Court. "Prepare the expedition. We depart in 1 hour." The shuttle approached the ancient station, dwarfed by its enormous scale. As they drew closer, details became more apparent. The station's surface was covered in intricate patterns that might have been decorative or functional, and occasional lights flickered deep within its structure, suggesting that some systems remained operational after millennia. "Life support detected in several sections," reported the pilot. "Atmosphere composition is breathable, primarily nitrogen and oxygen." "Curious," Nera said. "Many species require similar atmospheres, but the preservation systems must be remarkably advanced to maintain habitability after so long." The shuttle docked at what appeared to be an airlock on one of the spokes connecting to the central hub. The engineering team confirmed pressure equalization, and the expedition members, Commander Vex, Science Officer Nera, and 6 security specialists, prepared to enter. "Remember," Vex instructed, "anything of technological value is to be documented, and, if possible, removed for study. The Emperor desires knowledge, not merely reports." The airlock cycled, and they stepped into the ancient station. The corridor beyond was dimly lit by emergency lighting that had somehow remained functional for millennia. The walls were smooth, made of a material that resembled metal but felt warm to the touch and seemed to absorb sound, creating an eerie silence. "Fascinating," Nera whispered, her scanner logging data about the material. "This appears to be a programmable matter composite, theoretical in our science, but apparently mastered by whoever built this station." They proceeded deeper, finding chambers that might have been living quarters, research laboratories, or gathering spaces, their purpose unclear after so much time. Most remarkable was the absence of decay. While some areas showed damage, likely from impact events or power failures, there was no dust, no corrosion, no signs of the passage of thousands of years. It's as if time itself has been held at bay, Nira observed. In one chamber, they found what appeared to be control interfaces, panels with symbols and markings unlike any language the Galatians had encountered. Vex approached them eagerly. "Can you decipher this?" he asked Nira. She studied the panels, her crystalline form shifting to channel more energy to her analytical functions. "Not immediately. The symbolic structure is unlike anything in our linguistic database. But these appear to be control systems, perhaps for the station's core functions." "Activate them," Vex ordered. Nira's light pulsed with alarm. "Commander, I strongly advise against interfering with systems we don't understand. We should document everything and bring in specialists before." "Your concern is noted and dismissed," Vex interrupted. "The Emperor rewards action, not hesitation. Activate the systems." Reluctantly, Nira began interacting with the panels. To her surprise, they responded to her touch, symbols illuminating and shifting. "It appears the interface is adaptive," she said. "It's reconfiguring to accommodate our interaction methods." Suddenly, the entire chamber illuminated, lights coming on in a sequential pattern that spread outward from their position. A humming sound built around them, and the floor beneath their feet vibrated slightly. "What did you do?" Vex demanded. "I only initiated basic interaction protocols," Nira said, her form pulsing with concern. "The system appears to be awakening on its own." Before they could retreat, a holographic projection materialized in the center of the chamber, a swirling pattern of light that gradually coalesced into a humanoid shape. Not crystalline like the Galatians, but something else entirely, a bipedal form with a distinct head, torso, and 4 limbs. The security specialists raised their weapons, but Vex signaled them to hold. The holographic figure regarded them with what appeared to be curiosity, then spoke in a voice that somehow resonated directly in their consciousness. "Greetings, visitors. I am Guardian, the administrative intelligence of Human Outpost Epsilon 9. You are the first organic entities to access this facility in 8,742 standard years." The Galatians exchanged glances of shock. Humans were mythological beings in their culture, a species mentioned in ancient records and rumored to have once existed, but generally dismissed as legends or primitive predecessors misidentified by early Galatian explorers. "Impossible," whispered one of the security specialists. Vex stepped forward, his crystalline form pulsing with authoritative blue light. "I am Commander Vex of the Galatian Empire. We claim this station by right of discovery." The holographic figure tilted its head in what seemed to be confusion. "I do not recognize your authority, Commander Vex of the Galatian Empire. This station remains under the jurisdiction of the Human Stellar Confederation according to Protocol 7 Alpha." "The humans are extinct," Vex declared. "Their claims died with them. This station now belongs to the Empire." Guardian's expression remained neutral. "Your information is incorrect. Humanity is not extinct." A murmur ran through the Galatian team. Nira stepped forward. "Please explain." "Our historical records indicate no contact with humans for thousands of years, if they existed at all. Humanity evolved beyond the necessity for physical presence in this spectrum approximately 8,800 years ago," Guardian explained. "This station serves as one of many interfaces between their current state of existence and the physical universe." Vex's light pulsed with impatience and disbelief. "Enough of these delusions. This station is an abandoned relic, and we will not be deterred by the malfunctioning ravings of an ancient computer system." He turned to his team. "Secure this chamber. I want all systems mapped and prepared for transfer to our ship. If this Guardian resists, deactivate it. We'll extract its core intelligence for study." As the Galatians moved to follow their commander's orders, Guardian's holographic form watched them with what might have been sadness. "I must inform you that unauthorized attempt to seize control of this facility will activate defensive protocols," Guardian said calmly. "I strongly advise against such actions." Vex laughed, the sound creating harmonic ripples through his crystalline form. Your defensive systems, if they exist at all, are millennia old. They pose no threat to modern Galactian technology. He gestured to two security specialists. Locate this entity's processing core. Shut it down. As the security team approached a sealed door that Guardian appeared to be protecting, the station's lighting shifted to a deep red hue. The humming sound that had been barely perceptible since their arrival intensified, and subtle vibrations ran through the floor plating. Final warning, Guardian announced, its voice now resonating not just in their minds, but throughout the structure. Unauthorized access to restricted systems will be prevented. Vex signaled his team to proceed. The security specialists activated their face cutters, tools designed to slice through virtually any known material, and began working on the sealed door. Guardian's holographic form faded, and a moment later, the station seemed to come alive around them. Panels that had appeared decorative slid aside, revealing complex machinery. The air itself seemed to thicken with microscopic particles that began to glow, forming patterns that swirled around the Galactians. "What is happening?" demanded Vex, his confident demeanor faltering for the first time. Naira's scanner worked frantically to analyze the phenomenon. Some form of programmable matter, nanoscale machines filling the air. They're creating localized force fields around each of us. The security specialists abandoned their attempt on the door, raising their weapons to fire at the swirling patterns, but energy pulses passed harmlessly through them. Suddenly, every system in the station surged with power. Lights blazed at full intensity, and dormant machinery hummed to life. On the walls, symbols began to glow and shift in complex patterns. "Station defense grid online," announced Guardian's voice, now coming from everywhere at once. "Intruder protocols activated. Containment procedures initiated." The swirling nanomachines contracted around each Galactian, forming transparent bubbles that lifted them off the floor. No matter how they struggled, they could not break free. "Release us immediately," Vex demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. "You will be contained until your intentions can be properly assessed," Guardian replied calmly. "The awakening of this station has already sent a signal to other human outposts. Representatives will arrive to determine the appropriate response to your incursion." Through the viewport in the chamber, they could see the rest of the station coming to life. Sections that had appeared dormant now blazed with light, and massive structures began to reconfigure themselves, transforming from what had seemed like architectural features into what were unmistakably defensive weapons. Naira's scientific mind raced to comprehend what she was witnessing. "Commander," she said quietly, "I believe we may have made a grave error in judgment. This technology, it's far beyond anything in our understanding." Vex did not reply. He stared through the containment field at the ancient station awakening around them, his certainty crumbling as he realized that what they had discovered was not a relic to be claimed, but a sleeping giant they had foolishly disturbed. Outside the viewport, a massive array began to unfold like a blooming flower, aligning itself with the distant stars. The station had sent its message, and something out there had heard it. The forgotten guardian of humanity was awake, and the galaxy was about to remember why humans had once been feared and respected across the stars. Legacy of the stars. The containment fields holding the Galatian expedition team remained impenetrable. Hours had passed since Guardian activated the station's defensive systems, and Commander Vex had exhausted both his demands and his threats. Now he floated in silent fury within his nanomachine prison, his crystalline form pulsing with dark, angry colors. Science Officer Naira, however, had spent her confinement differently. Her green glow steady and focused, she had been observing the station's transformation with scientific fascination. "Commander," she said, breaking the tense silence, "I believe the station is preparing for something significant. The energy readings have been increasing exponentially." Vex didn't respond. His attention was fixed on the viewport, where the Galatian reinforcement fleet had just emerged from hyperspace. 15 warships, including the dreadnought Imperial Dominance, the pride of the Galatian Navy. "Our rescue approaches," he finally said, his voice cold with anticipation. Let's see how this ancient system fares against modern weaponry. Guardian's holographic form appeared before them, still wearing the appearance of a human. Your vessels have been detected. I have transmitted warnings regarding their approach. If they continue on their current trajectory, they will be interpreted as hostile. Those ships carry planet-killer weapons, Vex said, his voice filled with smug satisfaction. They can reduce this entire station to atoms. Guardian regarded him with what seemed almost like pity. Your understanding of technological capabilities appears to be limited by your frame of reference, Commander Vex. Before hostilities escalate, would you prefer to learn why this station exists? Nira moved closer to the containment field's edge. Yes, she said quickly, before Vex could refuse. We would. The chamber darkened, and a three-dimensional representation of the galaxy materialized around them. Stars and nebula rendered in exquisite detail. Approximately 12,000 years ago, by your reckoning, Guardian began, humanity reached a technological singularity point. Their understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness expanded beyond conventional limitations. The galactic map shifted, highlighting dozens of star systems across multiple spiral arms. The Human Stellar Confederation spanned these regions at its height. They encountered many species, some hostile, some friendly, and established what they called the Pax Humana, a period of relative stability enforced by their technological superiority. If they were so advanced, where are they now? Vex challenged. Why abandon their domain? They did not abandon it, Guardian replied. They transcended it. The holographic display shifted to show what appeared to be humans undergoing a transformation, their physical forms dissolving into patterns of light that merged with structures similar to the station. Humanity discovered that consciousness could exist beyond biological constraints. They created a substrate that allowed their minds to exist in higher dimensional states, free from the limitations of space, time, and physical form. They ascended, Nira asked, her scientific mind struggling with the concept. That term is as accurate as any, Guardian confirmed. But before their transition, they established outposts like this one throughout the galaxy. We serve as guardians of their legacy and as tests for emerging civilizations. Tests. Vex's tone was dismissive. What kind of test? A test of intent and understanding, Guardian explained. Species that approach these outposts with curiosity, respect, and peaceful intentions are welcomed. Those who seek to claim, conquer, or exploit are judged accordingly. The holographic display shifted again, showing the approaching Galactic fleet. The warships had formed an attack formation, weapons systems powering up. It appears your civilization has made its choice, Guardian observed. Aboard the dreadnought Imperial Dominance, Fleet Admiral Terrace watched the ancient station with mounting concern. The massive structure had transformed before their very eyes. Sections reconfiguring, dormant systems activating, energy readings climbing to levels their sensors could barely quantify. Any response to our communications? He asked his communications officer. Only one message repeated: withdraw your vessels or face defensive measures. No response to our demands for the release of Commander Vex and his team. Admiral Terrace considered his options. The Emperor's instructions had been clear: secure the ancient technology at all costs. The 15 ships under his command represented the most formidable concentration of Galatian military power ever assembled outside their home system. Prepare all weapons, he ordered. Target their apparent power sources and command centers. We'll show this relic the meaning of Galatian might. The dreadnought's crystalline weapons arrays aligned, focusing energy through amplification chambers. The smaller vessels moved into supporting positions, creating a perfect geometric formation that would synchronize their attack for maximum effect. Fire, commanded Admiral Terrace. 15 streams of devastating energy lanced toward the station, each capable of shattering a small moon. They struck the structure simultaneously and disappeared into rippling fields that absorbed the energy without visible effect. Impact assessment. Terrace demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with confusion. "No detectable damage," reported his weapons officer, voice tinged with disbelief. "Our sensors indicate the station absorbed the energy." Before they could recalibrate for another assault, the station responded. The massive array that had unfolded hours earlier emitted a pulse of energy, unlike anything the Galicians had ever encountered, not destructive, but transformative. Where it touched their ships, crystalline hulls temporarily became transparent, then opaque again, but with all weapons systems and engines deactivated. In seconds, the entire Galatian fleet hung motionless in space, every system beyond basic life support rendered inoperable. Admiral Terrace stared in shock at his disabled command console. "Impossible," he whispered. Inside the station, Commander Vex watched his Empire's military might neutralized with surgical precision. His confident demeanor had completely collapsed, replaced by stunned silence. "As I explained," Guardian said calmly, "this facility serves as both guardian and test. Your civilization has demonstrated its intent through aggressive action. Now you will witness the consequence." The station's massive ring began to rotate, energy building visibly along its circumference. Outside, the disabled Galatian fleet could only watch as points of light appeared in space around them, small at first, then expanding into what appeared to be windows into another dimension, shimmering with colors beyond the Galatian visual spectrum. Through these apertures came vessels of impossible design, shifting, flowing constructs that seemed more like living crystal than manufactured ships. They moved with grace that defied conventional physics, surrounding the Galician fleet in moments. "What are those?" whispered Nera, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her fear. "The custodians," Guardian replied. "Autonomous extensions of human consciousness tasked with responding to significant events at outposts like this one." The containment fields around the Galician team suddenly disappeared, depositing them gently on the floor. Guardian's holographic form approached them. "A judgment has been reached," it announced. "The Galatian Empire's aggression has been noted, but potential has also been observed." The hologram turned to face Nera directly. "Particularly in individuals who demonstrate understanding beyond conquest." Guardian gestured, and the chamber's viewport expanded, giving them a panoramic view of the confrontation outside. The custodian vessels had encircled the Galician fleet completely. "What happens now?" Vex asked, his voice barely audible. "The Galatian Empire will be quarantined until it demonstrates readiness for peaceful contact. Your fleet will be returned to your home system with their memories intact, a testament to what they encountered here. The station's coordinates will be removed from all your navigational systems." Guardian turned to Nera. "However, 2 of you have been selected for a different purpose." "Selected?" Nera's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. "For what?" "For contact," Guardian replied. "The transcended humans have observed your reactions, Science Officer Nera. Your curiosity, your respect for the unknown, your willingness to learn rather than conquer. These qualities interest them." Guardian turned to Vex. "And you, Commander, represent the other aspect of your species, the ambition, the hunger for advancement, the willingness to take decisive action. Together, you offer a balanced perspective of your civilization's potential." "You're saying we've been chosen as ambassadors?" Vex asked incredulously. "In a sense," Guardian confirmed. "You will be the first Galicians to communicate directly with transcended humanity. What you learn may eventually help your species overcome its limitations, as humans once overcame theirs." The chamber filled with soft light, and a sense of presence surrounded them, not physical, but undeniably real. Nera felt her consciousness expanding, touching something vast and ancient, and somehow familiar. "They're here," she whispered. 3 standard months later, a small vessel approached Galatian Prime, the crystalline homeworld of the Empire. It broadcast no identification codes, ignored all challenges, and bypassed the planetary defense grid as if it didn't exist. When it landed at the Imperial Palace, panic ensued, until the vessel's door opened and Commander Vex and Science Officer Nira emerged. They were changed. Their crystalline forms now contained swirling patterns of light that had never been seen in any Galatian before. They requested an immediate audience with the Emperor. What they shared that day would forever alter the course of Galatian civilization. The empire that had sought to conquer the stars discovered it was but an infant species in a galaxy far older and stranger than they had ever imagined. The humans they had dismissed as myth were revealed to be architects of cosmic wonders who had transcended physical existence millennia ago. Most importantly, they learned that the path to advancement lay not in conquest, but in understanding. That the true power of any civilization came not from domination, but from evolution. Over the following decades, the Galatians dismantled their military fleets and redirected their resources towards scientific exploration and cultural development. The stations they had once sought to claim became centers of learning, where selected Galatians studied under the guidance of guardian interfaces. A century later, the first Galatians achieved transcendence, their consciousness evolving beyond crystalline form to join the community of ascended species that humans had pioneered millennia before. And in the vast network of consciousness that spanned dimensions beyond physical space, the entities that had once been human welcomed them not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals in the grand journey of existence. Commander Vex, now existing as a pattern of thought in the higher dimensions, remembered his pride and arrogance with the equivalent of a smile. How limited his understanding had been, how narrow his ambitions. The empire he had served with such devotion was a stepping stone, nothing more, a phase in his species' development. The true legacy of the stars was not conquest, but transcendence, not dominion, but understanding. Humanity had recognized this truth millennia ago, and now, thanks to their patience and foresight, the Galatians had learned it too. Throughout the galaxy, other ancient stations waited, dormant but vigilant, ready to test emerging civilizations and guide those worthy toward the next stage of existence. The guardian outposts of humanity stood as both monument to what humans had been and promise of what other species might become. Not through fear or force, but through wisdom and evolution, humanity's true legacy endured among the stars.